Hey everyone, thanks for being tuned in to KPOV 88.9 FM, your high desert community radio in beautiful Bend, Oregon. Thank you so much for being here for the Cosmic Community Astrology program on KPOV every Tuesday from 4:30 to 5 p.m. This is your Galactic Ambassador, Stacie Dread. It is another really amazing week in the astrology, and we will be talking about the planetary and lunar influences today for the week and how these energies may be affecting us and other people in our lives, and also how we may be able to work within the cycles so that we can live in more harmony with the universe and create a more benevolent life for all. So thanks again for being here in the cosmic community. It's a lovely day today, as we should be feeling some of the shifts that are taking place in the sky. Oh my goodness, just last week and this week have been major shift weeks. And so the energy, really goes in these cycles. We have moved out of that really intense Pisces phase, and with the movement of Jupiter into Aries today, that just takes a little bit more of the emphasis off of that and moving more into a fiery cycle with Venus in Aries and Jupiter both going to be in the fire sign of initiation, of birth. This is very much a beginning sort of energy so that we can start some new projects and look forward to some new things that can take place in our lives. And so this is expanding the Aries energy with Jupiter entering today. And so that is one of the large events taking place. I'll be discussing also the Mercury retrograde, that Mercury has gone retrograde this morning. And of course, I'm talking all Pacific Coast time. So if you're tuned in from another time zone, you'll want to check and make sure that you've got your times and dates right. But Mercury retrograde for the next 3 weeks, stationing retrograde at 5 degrees of Gemini, and we'll be heading back into Taurus to just look at some of those themes and review some of those themes, and maybe even redo some of those things that we've been up to. So I'll be talking about the Mercury retrograde cycle, and then also the big event for the week is on Sunday, May 15th. This is the full moon in Scorpio at 25 degrees of Scorpio. This is not only a full moon, but this is a total lunar eclipse. It's known as a blood moon, and there will be 2 of them this year. There's going to be another blood moon on November 8th. And it's also an eclipse. And so we are in the middle of our eclipse cycle. We have come out of the new moon eclipse on April 30th, and that was in Taurus. And we are traveling through the portal right now. Taurus is some really beautiful earth energy, and the earth energy is nice and strong right now also, as the sun and Uranus are both in Taurus, lighting up that part of the zodiac. And then Scorpio is the opposing energy from Taurus. So it's the Taurus Scorpio north node in Taurus, south node in Scorpio, nodal themes that we are working on here. So Taurus Taurus is the second, represents the second sign of the zodiac right after Aries. And this is also a really young, youthful energy. This represents family and children and your immediate family, the comforts of home, the comforts of a family, the security that gets created that's so necessary for people to feel secure. And so that's really what Taurus energy represents. And Scorpio across the way is so very different. Scorpio is a water sign. This is an emotional energy. Scorpio represents the death and the rebirth cycle. So very much themes around loss and around transformation and metamorphosis happening during this full moon total lunar eclipse in Scorpio at 25 degrees. So that is capping off this week. And just kind of backtracking a little bit to last week, we talked about the sun making a conjunction with Uranus, being sort of the big event that could have shaped the energy of last week. And so, how was that? How was that for everybody? That was around the 4th and the 5th. It would have been like really early morning on the 5th, and the energies would have been building on the 4th. This was going to be very transformative with Jupiter in a sextile to Pluto, while the biggest energy in the zodiac, the sun, conjuncts the planet of change and awakening, Uranus. And so there could have been something big come to our attention last week, and it was just like so big that we couldn't see anything around that. It also could have come very surprise. It could have surprised you. It could have been all of a sudden. That is definitely what Uranus represents, is sudden awakenings, making things feel a little bit unstable. And so if last week felt a little unstable to you, you're still kind of feeling like not really sure, like kind of on a little unstable ground, this energy is still very much in play with Uranus at just about 15 degrees and the sun at 19 degrees. So we're still within the 5-degree orb, as they say in the world of astrology. And when the planets and when these events are still within 5 degrees of each other, that they can be felt very strongly. So, last week was an interesting one, as we had Venus entering Aries and some really like unstable, ground shattering, earth shattering energy. And then we move into this week, another massively faded week, as we are working with the nodes of fate. The north and the south node are really they're cosmic course correctors, as I coined on my show last week for myself. I'm sure somebody else has come up with those 3 words together somewhere, but anyways, the cosmic course correctors, the north and the south node, they pivot us. They put us on our correct path if for some reason we're sort of straying, or if something really needs to come to our attention to put us on to a new path, onto our more benevolent path, then that, thing comes to our attention. Certainly at the time when we are having this interplay with the north and the south node. Today, let me take a look here. The north node on May 10th. Let's see, north node sitting at about 23 degrees of Taurus, and in Scorpio at about 23 degrees of Scorpio. And these are sort of the mean, the average of where they are. And so, looking in your birth chart, anywhere around within 5 degrees of these nodal points, you'll be feeling these energies very strongly. And these are going to be the areas of your life where these sort of transformational energies may be taking place. And so a really good thing to look at is where the nodes are interplaying into your chart. And so again, that's at about 23 degrees of Taurus and 23 degrees of Scorpio. Oh, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4 all over my clocks here. That's my favorite number, knowing the greater knowing from the cosmos that I am on my cosmic course. So thank you so much for being tuned in here today. This is Stacie Dread, Galactic Ambassador here in the cosmic community. I'm chatting about the week's astrology and how we may be able to work with these energies and just kind of be aware of what is going to be coming up so that we can sort of, plan for the flow of our next week. And so really the big days that I'm looking at are Tuesday, May 10th, today. And I'm going to get into the Mercury retrograde and the Jupiter entering Aries here in just a moment. And then the other big day that I'm looking at is Sunday the 15th, the date of that Scorpio lunar eclipse. So moving back to May 10th, we have Mercury stationing retrograde today. And the retrograde activity is actually from our vantage point on Earth, a bit of an optical illusion. From our vantage point here on Earth, it looks like Mercury actually does travel backwards in the sky. Although, it's just kind of like when you are driving on the highway per se, and you're traveling at a certain speed and the car next to you is also traveling at that certain speed. And then all of a sudden, somebody puts on their brake next to you, and it really looks like you're shooting past them and they're slowing down. I mean, it's really, they're still moving. They're not stopping, they're moving. They're just slowing down just a tad. So it's a bit of the same optical illusion in the sky, but Mercury is stationing to go retrograde at 5 degrees of Gemini and will be moving back into Taurus over the next couple of weeks, moving into Taurus on Sunday the 22nd, of course, in the retrograde backwards moving cycle there, and then will station in Taurus at, let's see, where are my notes here? At 26 degrees of Taurus. So I bring that up because if you do have your birth chart in front of you, a good place to be paying attention to is this 26 degrees of Taurus to 5 degrees of Gemini for the next 3 weeks, because this is going to be the part that we are going to be redoing. We are going to review. We are going to go back. Mercury is going to travel backwards, and we're going to get 3 opportunities to look at this area of our life and make those changes within the retrograde cycle. Mercury is the messenger of the gods. Mercury in astrology represents our minds, the way that we think, our mental capacities. It also represents communications and emails, getting from here to there, communications, phone calls, connecting, getting from here to there. Also, transportation, kind of like short-term transportation, errands around town, little trips, for things that we need to do to work every day and so on. So with Mercury stationing retrograde, slowing down, moving backwards, we are going to be seeing a slowdown in these areas of our lives also. So expect for the next few weeks that you are going to be, your mind may be slowing down just a little bit. You may need a little extra time to sort of go back and review things and take a second look at things to make sure that, you've crossed all your T's and dotted all your I's, and also within the communication, knowing that things just may be taking longer to get to here to there, or maybe you have some things that need to be loading in and out, and these types of things may be taking longer than usual, along with these short trips around town. Our errands might end up taking us longer than we expect over the next few weeks. So plan for this, because those are pretty much like the things that everyone knows about Mercury retrograde, but don't get too into the negativity that you might hear about Mercury retrograde. I don't want to say negativity, sorry. Anything that you hear that doesn't resonate with you about this Mercury retrograde, try not to buy into that. Try and stay into whatever it is that is, proving to be most benevolent for you. And so you can really feel into it. Mercury is the messenger of the gods. And so we can really receive some messages from our inner god, from our outer gods, from wherever these communications that you desire come from. Stay open, because this is the moment where Mercury dives deep into the underworld, gathers up the information, and brings it back up to you so that you can take a look at it a time, and then a time again, and a third time again. So anyways, we will be talking Mercury retrograde for the next few weeks. So I will move into Jupiter entering Aries today, also on May 10th. And I did kind of mention a few things at the beginning of the show, because this is really strong. Jupiter is the largest planet in our solar system, and carries with it a lot of weight also within the energetics of the astrology. Jupiter is the grand gift giver. Jupiter is like good luck. Jupiter is optimism. Jupiter is opportunity. Jupiter wants to expand everything that it encounters. And that's a really, really wonderful, wonderful thing. And in Aries, that is where we see the expansion of the strong entrepreneurial energy, starting these brand new things off, being an initiator, being somebody who's not afraid to take those first steps and start something. The entrepreneurial spirit, and so this is really, really great for fresh starts, for sports. Even Aries is like the representation of the athlete, like the really strong athlete. In fact, I saw something about how they were checking birth charts of some of the most amazing athletes of all time, and that they had a ton of Aries energy in their charts, all of them. And Mars in Aries, for that matter, because Mars rules Aries. But we're just talking about Jupiter in Aries right now. And so this expansive energy that just comes in and really expands this Aries energy right now. I've discussed a lot of really positive parts of it, and there can be some over the top parts to it also. I was talking a little bit last week about Venus in Aries, and how she is like the goddess of love, but that she gets a little feisty in Aries. She's not totally sure that everybody has heard her correctly, and she wants to be heard. And, now with Jupiter there, we are just wanting to be heard even more. And it may be a little over the top. We may be pushing some things a little strongly. We might want to make sure that the way that we are expressing things are appropriate, to the situation and appropriate to your audience, right? This could bring in a ton of adrenaline. And we will be dealing with Jupiter in Aries for the next year, because Jupiter pretty much moves through the signs every year. We will have a Jupiter retrograde later this year, where Jupiter will move back into Pisces to review some of that content there, and then back into Aries for the remainder of the year. So we're really starting a new cycle right now with Jupiter, a new 12-year cycle traveling around the zodiac. So that's really strong and beautiful, and I hope that you are able to utilize that energy. And of course, we will be talking more about Jupiter and Aries, and I am really interested to see what happens when Mars hits Jupiter. I believe that is going to be taking place in Aries. That's going to be a really strong, explosive moment taking place later on this summer. So we will stay tuned, won't we? And moving on to the full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio. Oh my goodness, is this a way to finish up the week? This is like the death and rebirth cycle times 100. This is like a full moon times 1,000. And this is an intense one. Scorpio is like the deepest, most intense energy of the zodiac. Yes, Scorpio represents death, represents loss, closure, the ashes, but also what is represented by Pluto, the ruler of Scorpio. And Scorpio is the phoenix rising then from those ashes. So this is such a potent full moon happening this weekend. It's highly transformational. It has carries with it a huge energy of metamorphosis. And because it's all tied in with the South Node, the South Node represents things that might need to leave our life, things that we might need to put a death to, put some closure to, burn to ashes, so that we can then create something new with that space in our lives and with that energy that we were then, putting on to something else that was not benevolent for us. So look in your chart. This is happening at 25 degrees of Scorpio. What is around Scorpio? Do you have any squares or trines or oppositions in your chart from 25 degrees of Scorpio? And this is going to be the house that is activated for you this weekend, and where this metamorphosis may be taking place. This is a blood moon. This is, as I mentioned, there's going to be 2 of them this year. We're going to have another one on November 8th, but I'm really interested to see how this all plays out for us this weekend. Just taking a look at the chart here so that I don't miss anything. Of course, the full moons happen when the moon and the sun are opposing each other. The sun will be at 25 degrees of Taurus. And I guess one other thing to point out about this day is that we have a conjunction, a very, very close conjunction with Venus in Aries and Chiron in Aries. This is at about 16 degrees of Aries. And this is like a really potent healing moment. Venus is like the goddess of love, as I mentioned. She also represents money and the flow of money into our lives, and trust. That trust that we have in the universe to take care of us and to provide for us the most potent healing moment that we do indeed need now. So I've been repeating to myself and other people around me this week, because it's such a fated week. It's like, you have what you need right now. In this moment, that's it. There's nothing that you're lacking. There's nothing about you that's lacking. There's nothing wrong with your situation. It's all perfect and it's all fated. So pay attention to these beautiful messages that may be coming through in this really strong eclipse portal. And I will be back next week. Stacie Dread, Galactic Ambassador, the Cosmic Community, back next Tuesday at 4:30. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.